good day everyone. I am Dindy Bigno Paquibot and I am the third demonstrator for the group 6, which is the topic is all about the research. And last meeting we discussed about what is research, the research process, which is demonstrated by Ms. Ontong, and also the review of related literature or the related studies, and the research design and methodology, which also demonstrated by Ms. Pires. So in this pre-recorded video, I am going to discuss one of the types of research, which is the experimental research and the sampling. Okay, let's start. Experimental research. So what is experimental research? So it is a powerful method which can be used to establish cause and effect relationships to or more variable. Or from the word experiment, it is the test or a trial or a procedure that researchers do. And also experimental research, it is one of the types of research that belongs to quantitative research. Why? Because it talks about the calculation or statistical analysis. And the purpose of experimental research is to study the cause and effect relationship or to observe the outcome of the variables. In a sample experiment, it should have at least two distinctive groups. They are the experimental group and the control group. When we say experimental group, it is the group that receives the variable you are testing, while the control group is the group you does not receive you are testing. For example, is you are making an experiment. You have a 2 packs of popcorn, which is ang isa is stored mo sa refrigerator, while ang isa is stored mo sa cabinet. The only mean of your experiment is asa kaha ang mas kusog mo pop ato or mas mo receive sa experiment kay mong gipiuhat. The question is, asa man ang experimental group ato o ang control group? Yes, very good. The experimental group is the popcorn you stored in the refrigerator, while the control group is the popcorn you stored in the cabinet. It is because the popcorn you stored in the refrigerator is the one who receives more the experiment you are doing. And also, the only difference of the two packs of popcorn is kung asa nimo sila stored, and also that temperature, which is ang popcorn you stored sa refrigerator is bugnaw, while ang katong nasa cabinet is normal ra siya. It means the popcorn in the refrigerator is the what? The variable, which is siya ang mas ni receives or na-change sa imong experiment. In experimental research, there are two variables being used, the independent variable and the dependent variable. So when we say independent variable, it is the cost or can be manipulated such that any change in the dependent variable, while the dependent variable is the effects or it attributes to change independent variable or provides results or outcomes of the variables. Just for example, in a reading comprehension and academic performance. So when we say reading comprehension, it is the ability of the students to read, to write, or to find new vocabulary words. And the academic performance is the grades, which is the reading comprehension is the independent variable, while the dependent variable is the academic performance, because the grades of the students will depend on the reading comprehension of the students. And research design, it consists of validity and reliability of the study. So research design, it shows the strategies for sample selection, measurement tools, data collection, as well as the methods researchers do. Or research design simply means it is the tools that use of the researchers to collect information or the data from the respondents. In identifying the quality and the validity of the research, let's talk about the two types of validity: the internal validity and the external validity. When we say internal validity is the extent of how the factors that been manipulated which affect the dependent variable, while external validity is the extent to which a study can be generalized to other setting, other treatment variables, measurement variables, and populations. Another definition of internal validity, it shows whether a study accurately measures a causal relationships. Just for example, you are conducting in a small group, while in external validity, it is the contrast of internal validity, which is the focus on whether the findings can be applied to a broader population, or you as a researcher, you can conduct a research in a large of population as long as you can handle to give the study a relevant and validity. In the learning materials, there are three categories being presented by BEAST in 1981. So they are the symbols being used in the three categories. So R stands for random subject or the experimental group. X is the treatment or the variable, while the stands for the control group, and O is for observation and the test. The first category is the pre-experimental design, which is represents the simplest form of research design, and it consists of one-shot case study designed, one's group pre-test post-test designed, and the static group comparison. And one-shot case study, the symbols being used is a random subject plus treatment post-test over random subject control group post-test. So try to look at the example. The effects of counseling sessions on the attitudes of identified bullies in school. So the experimental group is the bully students, while the treatment is the counseling and the post-test is the observation. The second category is the quasi-experimental research, which is provides at least a satisfactory degree of control used only when randomization is not feasible. And quasi-experimental research, it consists of non-equivalent control group designed, time series, and multiple time series. Non-equivalent control group design, the samples using is the pre-test treatment post-test over the pre-test control group post-test. So the example, subjects are tested in existing group or intact group rather than being randomly selected. And this design should not only be used when random assignment is impossible, but the pre-test and the post-test is equal. And the last category is the true experimental design, which employs randomization to provide for the equivalence of groups and exposure for treatment. And true experimental design consists of post-test control group designed, pre-test post-test control group designed, and the Solomon 4 group designed. In post-control group design, the symbols is the random subject plus the treatment post-test over the random subject control group post-test. So in the examples, they are 100 randomly selected teachers, which is divided by 2, which is 50 teachers to 50 teachers. And the experimental group is dance for peace training workshop, while in the control group is no training, and the post-test is the same faculty self-awareness questionnaire. And the next is the pretest post-test control group design. The symbols is the random subject pretest plus the treatment post-test over the random subject pretest control group the post-test. So the difference, this example is they have already the pretest. So uh, according to the 100 randomly selected teachers divided by 50 teachers, the 50 teachers then the pre-test, and the control group is still the same, and the control experimental group, and there is also the post-test. And next is the Solomon 4 group design, which is the group which is divided by 4. And the symbols is the random pre-test, treatment, random subject, post-test over the random subject, pre-test, control group, post-test, random subject, treatment, post-test over random subject, control group, post-test. So in the examples, the 100 selected teachers, which is divided by 4, which is 25, 25, 25, 25. And 2 pretest, and 2 experimental group, and 2 control group. And in experimental group, there is also a 2 post-test. And while in control group, there is also a okay, so we already know about what is experimental research, the experimental group and the control group, the two types of variables being used, the independent variable and the dependent variable, the two types of validity, the internal validity and the external validity, and also the three categories presented by Beast in 1981, the pre-experimental design, quasi-experimental design, and the true experimental design. So now, let's bound to another topic, which is the sampling. So what is sampling? Do you have any idea? Okay, so sampling, it means selecting the group that you are actually collecting data from your respondents. In the sampling, there is the population or the number of your students. Or the population, should be your respondents or people involved in the study or the research. And also, it is the group of individuals that interest on the research. So there are ways on how to get your respondents. But before that, let me give you the two applications in research. The first one is selecting groups for observation that are representative of the population about which the researcher wishes to generalize. Yes, so you as a researcher, you must have the exact respondents that fit to your title. Or you as a researcher, dapat mangita kag respondents, mo focus ka ng respondents para dili kaayo taas imuhang ikandak nga research. And number 2 is equating experimental and control group is an experiment. And assessing individuals by random assignments, the BEAST method providing further equivalence. Yes, so you as a researcher for gonna let give your respondents freedom. So, ang pinaka-important dito sa if you are conducting a research, you must have their permission if okay ra ba nila nga mahimo nimo silang respondents to your study. There are 6 ways on how to get your respondents. So the first one, it is the simple random sample, which is this is the basic sampling you are going to do to collect to find your respondents. And individuals has a chance to be a respondents or independent variable. Just for example is you put your name in a pieces of rolled paper and gibutang nimo sa container. So bunot-bunoton, which is each member or every students has a chance to be your respondents, which is fair ang pagpili sa imong respondents. And the next, the random numbers, which is you are using a table for selecting a group. Just for example is you have a 30 respondents. So, para dili kay ka maglisod to in a statistical analysis or in a calculation, you are going to divide it by 2, which is mahimo na siyang 15, 15. So, the 15 is the first group and the rest, 15, is the second group. The third one is the systematic sample. So, it is the population accurately listed or chosen to be your respondents. Just for example is, dapat pod mopili ka o respondents dapat fit sa imuhang title. Just for example, mo conduct ka in a whole section. So, in a whole section, maora jud na imong fokusan sa imuhang study. And the next is the stratified random sample. So, it is the most advisable to divide the population to get a more accurate presentation. Yes, because it involves socio-economic status like age, sex, education, and religion. Just like what we did sa atong research. So, nag-ihapta kung pila ka buok, male and female, or the age and sex, male and the religion, para mas makakuha ta og mas accurate information or presentation about the respondents. And the next is the area or the cluster sample. Yes, so it's the variation of the sample random sample, and the particularly appropriate when the population is infinite, or from the word infinite is y katapusan. So, dapat pod, if you are conducting a research, dapat mag-focus na jud ka kung asa mas ma-fit imuhang title sa research. As for example, in the grade level of grade 7. So, in the students of grade 7, ara sad ka mag-conduct og study para dili na kaayo taas. And the last one is the sample size. So, there is no fixed number or percentage of subject that determines the size of adequate samples, or for you as a researcher o ganahan kag daghan na respondents, okay ra na as long as you can give a reliable information. Also, ma-ensure nimo kung unsa na ang imong research ka valid. Okay, so that's all for pre-recorded video. I hope you learned something, and thank you everyone. Okay, so that's all for pre-recorded video. I hope you learned something, and thank you everyone.